Hello and welcome back to the Belief Course. I'm Katie J, and today we are diving into step 3 of how to change your limiting beliefs into expansive ones. So, step 3 of how you change your beliefs, how you reprogram your subconscious mind and create new neural pathways that not only exist in your mind, but also throughout your fascial tissues, fully in belief mode. I know that this is going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that this is the life that is meant for me and that it will be. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know it will be. And I have so much peace around that. How do you get to that point? That's what we're talking about. So, step 3 is let me back up. Step 3 is release through spiritual and somatic shadow work. Release through spiritual and somatic shadow work. So often people hear about the law of attraction and they're like, okay, if like attracts like, then that means that I need to only focus on what feels good. I can only focus on gratitude. I can only focus on light and love and expansion and healing and growth. And while all those things are amazing and they're definitely part of you changing your beliefs and attracting more things into your reality, if you don't address what's already there and the conditioning, the domestication, the trauma that's already there, then it's going to be hard to take on any new beliefs. You have to first, as Catherine Zinkina, who's Manifestation Babe on Instagram, I listen to her podcast. I've taken some of her courses and I love her work. She always says, or in her original Manifestation Babe Academy, she talks about how you can't park your new car where your old car is still sitting in the garage. You have to sell or get rid of your old car before you can have a new car. And same way with your beliefs. You have to release your old beliefs before you can fully integrate a new belief. Otherwise, what ends up happening if you ignore the shadow, well, we'll get to that. Why is shadow work so important? Why is shadow work so important? This quote, I think, summarizes the answer so well. It's by Carl Jung, and it is until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. Until you realize what is hanging out in your unconscious, in your subconscious, what you are not aware of, the beliefs about the world, about your potential, the views that you have, the filter through which you see the world, which is an unconscious thing that you don't even realize that you have, until you bring that up into the light and make it conscious, it will control your patterns, your habits, your life, your manifestations, and everything. Everything. And so that is what shadow work it is. It's bringing your unconscious into the light. I'm always getting ahead of myself. What is shadow work? That's what this slide is. What is shadow work? Shadow work is the process of illuminating and loving on the parts of yourself that are rejected, repressed, denied, and or disowned. By accepting all parts of yourself, you are able to love yourself fully, right? We're not rejecting parts of ourselves. We're actually accepting and loving all parts of yourself fully. Because when you love yourself, new beliefs are easy to integrate, easy to internalize, easy to download fully into your body as from the place of I fully believe that this is mine. Of course, of course, of course, of course. There's no other way it could be. It's so much easier to download that belief into your unconscious when you are living in the vibration of love. And you live in the vibration of love by loving yourself, by loving all parts of yourself. The issue is from a very young age, we've been taught to repress certain parts of ourselves, such as our sexuality, right? We've been taught not to talk about that. We've been taught that we can't talk about money. And so that's a repressed, very shadowy aspect in our society. And so as we bring these conversations from the shadows into the light, we can look at all parts of ourselves and really truly love on all of it. That's really what shadow work is just the process of loving on all parts of yourself, no matter where you are in your journey, what you've been through, etc. I'm currently reading this book called Existential Kink, which is kind of blowing my mind. It's where I got that Carl Jung quote. And it's all about not just loving those parts of those shadowy aspects of yourself, but actually getting off on it. And I haven't finished the book, so I'm not going to try to teach you about it, but I do want to tell you about it because I talk about it in just a moment. And it is kind of blowing my mind the way that she talks about shadow work and how to do it. Okay. So there's so many different ways to do shadow work. And as you saw from the first, second slide, I said spiritual and somatic shadow work. So here are just a few examples of ways that you can do somatic shadow work. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow or in the next video when we talk about regulation. That's step 4 is regulate your nervous system. And so we'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. But somatic means related to the body, and usually it's related to your nervous system as well when it comes to this type of work. And that's all somatic means, related to the body. Okay. And so here are a few practices that I hold space for. Some of them I don't, that I hold space for and teach and use in my own practice, or like as a human on this earth, and that I also hold space for my clients. So breathwork is one of those. I hold space for breathwork for my clients. I use breathwork regularly to tap into my shadows. When you do breath work, there's so many different things that are happening, but the somatic aspect of it, how I explain it, is you're basically slightly initiating the stress response. Same with tension and trauma releasing exercises, the second one there. You're slightly initiating the stress response in the body, but in an environment where you feel very safe, in your home or in a studio with your community members, right? You consciously know that you're safe, but your unconscious, the way that you're breathing kind of signals to your unconscious that there's a stress mode happening, which allows your nervous system to go to that stress mode and then also come out of it. And that teaches your body how to create more resilience to stress and trauma in the future, as well as releasing what's already in there. So that's why both breath work and tension and trauma releasing exercises, TRE, are practices that I hold for my clients because I have seen how beautiful they are when you integrate them into your lifestyle and get to witness your body reacting differently, or rather responding differently to certain triggers, or rather just having a deeper awareness of your body when you are triggered and being able to move through that because you've been there before in a safe environment through breath work or TRE. There's also various types of somatic therapies. You could say that TRE is a somatic therapy as well, but there are things that are branded as somatic therapy. Dancing, I thoroughly enjoy dancing to express my shadow, to embody what it feels like to be scarce and to feel that in my body, and then also to break out of that and move through that and get to the other side of that and express in a way that signals abundance and vibrancy and prosperity and all those things. Yoga, I recently, if you're on my email list and you are keeping up, maybe you've seen that I just went to my first yoga class in over a year, and I chose Bikram. And man, was that a beautiful shadow work exercise where I got to really be honest with myself about where I was in my fitness journey and where, how much or not very much I've been taking care of my body, right? It was just like a direct mirror. Literally, there was a mirror in front of me showing me, like, this is where you're at right now, like love this part of yourself and take care of yourself in this moment. And don't try to push your way all the way through these postures when you know you might pass out. So that was definitely a humbling moment for my ego to sit my ass down in a yoga class for maybe the first time ever. Definitely not the first time ever, but I sat for a really good chunk of that class. And then of course writing. Writing could be, you're using your hand, right? That's a body part. So I would consider writing to be a somatic practice because sometimes when I'm writing, depending on the style of writing that I'm doing, it feels like spirit has taken over my hand and that I'm not even fully conscious of what's going to come out. It just comes out, my hand just does its thing. That feels very spiritual to me as well. So maybe you could include that on the next slide too. But because it's related to the body, I did want to write it here. And we're going to use a writing exercise for homework. That shouldn't be shocking. Also, I say writing, going back to that writing point, it's really important to, when I say writing, I don't mean typing on a computer or typing on your phone. I mean using your handwriting, because that does access your subconscious. We were really young. We were in the second, third grade when we started to learn how to write. So even though it was outside of that, 7 year subconscious squishiness in our psyche, it still is something we learned at a very young age and is so ingrained in our unconscious. We don't have to think about writing, right? We just let it go. And so, because of that, it can be an easy way to tap into your subconscious with your own handwriting. I'm trying to drink more water, which should be a form of somatic light work. Okay. So, releasing through spiritual shadow work. So, here's some examples of spiritual shadow work. And by the way, I did want to mention with the somatic shadow work, if you are not a part of my moon circles inside of Breathwork House, or you're not a part of seasonal circles, then you can join me for community-based breathwork. I host them on Sundays. It's the last Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And occasionally I offer TRE to the public. These days I'm just offering it inside of my containers, inside of the moon circles as surprises, and inside of seasonal circles, which is my group coaching program. I do TRE with those clients pretty regularly on a weekly basis. Step 3, release. Okay, through spiritual shadow work, connecting with nature. If you get out into nature, it is, oh my gosh, I mean, just throw yourself into the ocean and like let her teach you something, right? Like you're going to do a little bit of shadow work out there when you are fully having forced to surrender, basically. That might mean don't throw yourself in the ocean if you don't know how to swim and you're scared of the ocean. But I just mean if you can go out into nature, into a forest, into to a lake, to a river, to anything, a desert, get out into nature where you don't see buildings or people around you. Ah, that is a form of somatic light work. And it's also a form of somatic shadow work, because it helps remind you about how this universe works, which is it's always darkest before dawn, and it's always, the coldest time of the year, the shortest time of the year that everyone gets into that like really deep depression, but spring will always come, right? Like if you pay attention to what's happening in nature, you will realize that it's mirrored in your own shadows and in your own experience. And we can't reject winter, right? If you're going to reject winter, you're going to be pissed off for 1/4 of the year, every single year of your life. For 1/4 of your life, you're going to be pissed off. You might as well accept it, right? If you learn how to work with nature and watch nature and witness nature and be in nature and like surround yourself with it, shadow work will be way easier, because you get to see how all of that is reflected in the cosmos and in nature all around you. Another way to do spiritual shadow work is through therapy, coaching, meditation, prayer, and inner child work. I'm wondering how much I should go into these. I feel like they are pretty self-explanatory. I mean, coaching and therapy, there's someone to hold space for you and reflect back to you. Meditation, you can go into meditation to access your shadows and to love on your shadows. Actually, existential kink, which I forgot to list here, is a form of meditation where she basically guides you into getting off on your unconscious desires, which are your shadows and all the things that are showing up in your life that you don't like. So, for example, she had, if you're experiencing scarcity, then she's like, what part of you like really loves the scarcity? Like really loves the scarcity and wants to like eat it up and revel in it, right? And so she guides you through a process to really accept that scarcity and accept that that's something that you unconsciously wanted, and get off on it, complete the experience with it, and then it can be released. So that's a form of meditation shadow work is existential kink. Prayer, you can ask God, angels, universe, please show me where I am not fully accepting myself. Please show me where I have denied parts of myself so that I can love on those parts, so that I can accept those parts, so that I can integrate those parts. Please show me. But be careful what you ask for, right? Because like you will be shown if that's something you truly want. And then of course, inner child work, which brings me to our homework, an inner child writing exercise. Rip, rip, rip. I learned about this style of writing from my client, Catherine Andrews, and she's the one that taught me this. So, inner child writing exercise. Have a conversation with your inner child. Do it like a dialogue where you write. I just write me and I see, me, I see, me, I see, like it's a back and forth conversation. So me, I say, what are you afraid of? Like clearly there's some fear, doubt, limiting beliefs that's hanging out right now. What are you afraid of, little one? Or what's weighing on your heart, darling? And then, like a dialogue in a play, let them speak out onto the page and express every doubt, fear, and limiting belief that wants to come up. Continue the conversation back and forth. Usually I say, like, they express themselves and I say, thank you so much for sharing that. Know that you are loved, you are perfect, you are amazing. Is there anything else? Yes, blah, 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 blah. Let my inner child speak. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I start to move into remind them that you've gotten their back. Tell them the truth about how the universe works that you learned in the last video, right? How the universe worked and what conditioning and beliefs they took on because of their environment and trauma response. Explain that to them, right? Like explain that that is something that you were taught because you were trying to survive in your home growing up. But you don't have to do that anymore, sweet darling. I have you. I've got you. Reparent your inner child. Talk to them and conclude, remind them that you have their back, remind them that they are loved, remind them that they are safe, and conclude with anything else that feels present on your heart. Share that with your inner child. And then go, if you're inside of the breathwork house, you're a moon circle member or you're a seasonal circle member, go inside of community courses that you'll see on the left hand side. Go inside of community courses, go to the homework and questions tab, go to make a new post, and then use the hashtag TBC. It'll look like this: community courses, toggle over to homework and questions, and then say, here is my video 3 homework for TBC. And you don't have to post, you don't need to post what it is that your inner child said. Like, you don't have to post that conversation, but maybe just tell us how the experience was, right? Just give us a reflection about what happened. Did you cry? Did you have a breakthrough? Did something come up that you didn't realize was underneath that limiting belief? Share an aspect of your experience with us here inside of the community courses. And I will see y'all in the next video to learn about step 4, which is regulate your nervous system. We're going to dive a little bit more into TRE and breathwork stuff. So I will see you in the next video. Have a beautiful and blessed day.